Free agent profile and prediction for Eugenio Suarez. Eugenio Suarez, who was famously the best deadline acquisition ever in terms of home run total by the trade deadline. But what happened to Eugenio Suarez after the trade deadline certainly tanked his value. 34-year-old from Venezuela, Gino Suarez is a two-time All-Star, one of which was this past year. In 2022, this guy hit 236 with 31 homers. In 23 in Seattle, he hit 232 with 22 homers. He drove in 96. But then he goes to Arizona and he lights the world on fire. In 2024, hit just under 260 at an OPS just under 790 and had 28 doubles, 30 bombs, and 101 driven in. And this year was sensational. In 824 OPS, this guy had 49 home runs, 36 of which came in 106 games before the trade deadline with Arizona. This guy had 36 pumps and 87 driven in 106 games. But in 53 games after the break, he hit just under 190, still had 13 homers, but at a 682 OPS. He needs to hit the ball out of the ballpark to be tremendously valuable. And he did. He had 49 homers for the second time in his career. He had 49 homers in 2019 with Cincinnati. Gino Suarez is a prodigious power threat. But if you were watching the Mariners ALCS run, you saw a lot of defensive gaffes, and you saw a lot of punch-outs, and you saw a lot of bats that weren't necessarily competitive. Now, you saw some big swings, but over the course of 162, he could make you pull your hair out a little bit. How do you take in a Eugenio Suarez?
It was a tough one to try to find landing spots for Eugenio Suarez, trying to predict the contract. He is a complicated free agent. If you're looking at the market for a right-handed power bat, you got Pete Alonso, you got Eugenio Suarez. Like, these are the top guys on the market if you're looking at those right.
And to your point, you've got a ton of unknown beyond that. So it's Alonso, it's Suarez. Obviously, Schwarber factors in, but he's a DH. If you're looking at corner infielders, you've got those two. But then, like, you immediately fall to Munetaka Murakami and Kazuma Okamoto, guys that you know nothing about. So these are the guys that you actually know stuff about.
Exactly. And so it's interesting because the power production, I think, is going to be there. But 34 years old, defensive decline. Are you signing a DH or are you signing a third baseman? And I think you're probably going to find a team that is going to maybe expect him to play third base for at least the upcoming season, but maybe have a DH spot that's a little more open, so you always could move him there. It's just so hard to really properly value a guy that was a home run away from a 50 home run season, and yet our lasting memory is wasn't really that good after the trade and wasn't good until those last few monster swings in October. But he's a tough one to peg. I really struggle with this one.
Yeah, I struggle too. And I don't know how I would feel if my favorite team signed him. I think I would be excited because he hit 49 homers, but I think it would really depend on which team is signing him. If the Tigers don't go and get Bregman, and if they pursue Eugenio Suarez, I don't know how awesome I feel if I'm Detroit and I'm signing Suarez. Obviously, you want like power production, yada, yada, yada. But at the end of the day, like, it's a hard ballpark to hit a bunch of homers in. And much like Anthony Santander, if he's not hitting homers, is there immense value here? And I just don't know. We're going to talk about the teams, obviously, in a moment. But when you were trying to peg what this guy could possibly make, how did you even go about it? Was there precedent? Was there a guy that you looked at and said, you know what, you made this, so I'm going to go pay you that?
Honestly, it wasn't even about precedent. It was just, it was such a puzzle. And the first part of it was, okay, how many years does this guy get? Going to be 34 years old, coming off a monster season. He's going to want years, but is any team really going to go beyond 3 years? And that's ultimately where I landed, where I just can't see a team saying, you know what, we're going to take age 34, 35, 36, 37, 38. I think a 3-year deal made sense. And then it was all right. If he gets 3 years, what's the AAV? You could have told me, well, you know, based on the season he had, if he's a 50 home run hitter, $30 million a year. But I just think there's no way that he gets that. So then it's a $25 million a year. And again, I think if it's a 1-year deal, or let's just say it's a 2-year deal, could Eugenio Suarez get 2 for 50? Absolutely. Who knows? Maybe there's 2 for 60 out there for him, and I'm undervaluing him. I landed on 3 years, 70 million, and that is an AAV, a shade over 23 million per year. I felt like over 20, less than 25 felt right to me, and a 3-year deal is ultimately what I landed on. But this was one that it took a lot of just back and forth in my head trying to figure out what made sense, and that's ultimately where I ended up.
I don't even know who the good comp is. I'm trying to find an equivalent comp. And like I initially went to Max Muncy because Muncy has had 35, 36 homer seasons and he's an okay defensive third baseman. And Muncy, like, he never signed the big deal. It was always 3 for 24, and then it was 2 for 20. And, he's on another 2 for 24. They just accepted a club option at $10 million for Max Muncy. It's not the right comp. The closest thing that I feel like we've gotten in recent free agency is probably Christian Walker, age 34 through 36. He's making $20 million a year. It was a 3-year, $60 million deal. But Christian Walker is a Gold Glove first baseman. Is a Gold Glove first baseman equivalent to a below average defensive third baseman? I have no idea. So it's a brain melter. I wish I could even mildly push back on 3 for 70 and say, oh no, I feel strongly that it should be more. I feel strongly that it should be less. I just have no idea how to actually feel about Geno Suarez. The thing that intrigues me more is the fits that you see, because I feel like there are going to be a lot of familiar faces on the fits. Could be the team he ended the year with in Seattle. Could be the team that he started the year with in Arizona. It could be the team that he really burst onto the scene with in Cincinnati. Who do you feel like are the suitors for Eugenio Suarez?
Those 3 teams stand out. In our landing spots article, we also mentioned the Red Sox because maybe they're looking to get a big bat who can play some third base, but maybe more of their DH is, I think, the fit in Boston. The Athletics was an interesting one that we included on this list, and I don't hate it, honestly.
Can I say I love it because that offense is fun? You have a corner infield tandem of Kurtz and Geno who could combine for 80 to 90 homers in that minor league ballpark. And the environment, like that is a bandbox in Sacramento, and the ball's going to fly in the dry California air. So I love that you guys included that.
And honestly, I think for a team with a young core, Geno coming in as the de facto leader too, like I think it makes a ton of sense. And yeah, like you mentioned, that ballpark, it would be fun to watch him hit there. So that one definitely kind of stands out as a really fun one we included. I think he's going back to the Diamondbacks. That was my prediction. And the reason why I landed on that, I think if you remember how the deadline played out, they were very quick to jump on that first offer for Josh Naylor. There was some buzz that they were thinking about keeping Geno, despite the fact that he was being billed as like this best bat to get moved at the deadline. They were still a little hesitant to move him. I think they love him. I think that they still, unless you're just so bought in on Lawler that you're just, averse to adding that. I think that he makes a lot of sense. He could be their third baseman. He could be their DH. And even if they move Ketel Marte, it would make sense to bring Geno back as just a big back to plug into the middle of the lineup. And why would he not want to return? So I think the Diamondbacks might get him back, but this was one where, again, it was just as much as I had contemplated the contract forever. It was so hard to land on. Okay, this team absolutely would want Geno. They'd get better in every way. He's just a complicated free agent.
Really complicated free agent. Allow me to run you through the possible opening day lineup for the A's and see if I change your mind to, whether that is the best fit. They've got a lot of pitching questions to answer in the starting rotation and the bullpen. I don't know how willing they are to spend on those guys, but they acquired Springs and they paid Severino last offseason. They could do it again. And, they could hang around in the reliever thing. I saw an article about Jose Leclerc earlier today. I didn't get an opportunity to read it, but apparently there's, grievance of sorts on that $10 million deal for Jose Leclerc. But all of that aside, all of what happens on the mound aside, and that's half the team, and you have to adjust that or address that. This could be the opening day lineup for the Sacramento A's. Shea Langolier's catching, Brent Rooker DHing, Nick Kurtz at first, Max Muncy at second, the young Max Muncy, Jacob Wilson at short, Eugenio Suarez at third, and the outfield could be Tyler Soderstrom in left, Denzel Clark in center, and Lawrence Butler in right. That's really fun.
I love that. Yeah, I mean, the A's would be, I think, the most fun of these fits. And yeah, when you lay it out like that, that's a lot. That's a team that it's almost like your league pass teams for basketball.
Yes.
Like the A's are like the ultimate MLB.TV team where I'd love to watch that lineup go at it, especially because you know that they're going to be chasing probably some runs that they give up on the other side of it too. So we saw some of that last year, but yeah, Gino would just add to it. It's a lot of fun to think of him on the A's,
A ton of
especially
fun.
as a team that still probably needs to keep on spending. And I think it's expected to spend a little bit. That's the guy they should be all over.
The other one that jumps out to me, and I don't know if they're willing to take on another large contract because they already acquired McMahon at the deadline, but could the Yankees be slightly interested in a Eugenio Suarez, or is it not good enough defense at third base?
I think it's not good enough defense at third base, and you still have, I think, 2 or 3 more years of Stanton. Not that
I
you're
think 3 more years of Stanton. So then I'll like there are too many puzzle pieces to actually complete the puzzle and have it not look jumbled, because McMahon would be making $19 million on your bench, and that doesn't make any sense, I guess. But the Yankees should probably start to wade into the waters of not making financial sense if they actually want to win the World Series.
Yeah, I mean, I think they could have traded for Gino at the deadline, and they chose McMahon. I think they value infield defense, and that was a big priority for them to improve that. So I can't see it, but it undoubtedly would make their lineup more interesting if they had Gino at third base. I think it's more likely that they try to bring back Bellinger, and just because it's a more flexible piece where, all right, Stan went down, cool, we got Ben Rice, the DH. But look, Gino would fit the middle of any lineup as far as the bat goes. It's just, what do teams think about the glove at this point? Because it's clearly nowhere near where it used to be, and it's theoretically only going to get worse over the life of this deal.
Yep. So Ryan Finkelstein and our tremendous editorial team at justbaseball.com has 3 years for $70 million in his return to the Arizona Diamondbacks. But again, this guy turns everybody's brain into mashed potatoes. That was your free agent profile and prediction for Eugenio Suarez.